Okay, please go ahead, Patty.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for this virtual town hall meeting put on by the Sheriff's Civilian Oversight Commission. My name is Patty Giggins. I'm chair of the Civilian Oversight Commission. I'd like to welcome you all. I trust that you're doing what we are all doing, sheltering at home, unless, of course, you're one of the essential workers who we are so appreciative of, who are out there keeping things rolling while the rest of us hide indoors. Before we get started, though, we have a little tradition of taking a moment of meditation. And also, I'd like to add to this little moment of calm, we might reflect on the suffering, the people that have lost people during this pandemic. There's a lot of suffering going on. There's a lot of uncertainty. So just let's sit quietly together for a minute when you hear the sound of the bell. And now I'd like us all to say the Pledge of Allegiance. If we have a flag, will Commissioner Rubin please lead us in the pledge?
Yes, happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to
the republic
for which it
which stands one nation under God,
indivisible,
liberty
liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. We know that many of you were at our virtual meeting, this is the town hall, and we have our official Civilian Oversight Commission meetings, which we are now doing twice a month. Many of you did not get a chance to voice your opinions, and there's just not enough time, obviously. So what we are planning to do tonight is to really listen to as many comments from the public as we can fit in. We received over 400 emails from members of the community who are concerned about the potential closure of stations and the reduction of services by the Sheriff's Department. That's why we pivoted immediately and decided to hold this town hall. Tonight, I'm joined by 3 collegial commissioners from our 9-member commission. We have Commissioner Lal Rubin, who is also our vice chair, and we have Commissioners Osen and Tolentino, and I'd like to give you each just a moment to give your greeting to the community.
This is Commissioner Tolentino. I'm honored to be here tonight to listen to, the concerns of the community regarding the Sheriff's Department. I think we've all been impacted by this COVID-19. I'm willing here to listen and understand about the impact of these various issues that are on our community. Thank you.
Commissioner Osen, you want to go?
Sure. I echo Commissioner Tolentino's sentiments. It's an honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to hearing the comments from the community. And I'm especially grateful for the commission, especially at a time like this. given the magnitude of the issues and the importance of the issues that we're going to be discussing today and at our commission meeting next week.
Commissioner Rubin.
If I could just add one more point, and that is, we often on the commission, we often don't get to hear from members of the community, from particularly from Altadena and also in the Marina del Rey area. And I looked over the list of the registrants, and am just happy that we have this outreach to more people within LA County. So welcome.
Thank you, commissioners, and I'm so glad that all of you were able to join in tonight. We're also joined by our Executive Director, Brian Williams, and our Inspector General, Max Huntsman. And we do have some special guests with whom you'll meet in a minute. But I just wanted to say that the goal of the COC, I want to remind everyone, is for us to provide oversight, input, be a community liaison, or be a liaison between the community and the Sheriff's Department, and bring as much wisdom as we possibly can to really improve community policing, community engagement, and the safety of all of our communities. And that's why it's so important for us to hear from the community. Feedback is essential to guide our work, and we're paying attention, even though there are times when not everyone gets to speak. There are opportunities to email, we get calls, so we are really paying attention and listening to your voices, even though regrettably sometimes we just can't allow everyone to speak because of the time element. A few housekeeping matters tonight. If you are interested in providing live public comment, hopefully you have already logged into the link, COC Notify at coc.lacounty.gov, which is our homepage, where there is a place to register, and you've clicked yes, I would like to speak. If you are just listening in, you will not be able to speak. You will be able to hear us. We won't hear you, but you are also welcome to email your comments to that same website, COC Notify at coc.lacounty.gov, and we will include your comments as part of the record. Because we have a limited amount of time, and we have had more than 120 members of the community sign up to speak tonight, we will limit the time to 2 minutes per person. How that will work is that when it is your turn to speak, our staff will unmute your line. And then as you give your comments, just please to remember to mute any of the background noise so that we can clearly hear you. Again, thank all of you who are taking the time to communicate with us tonight. Before we formally get started or get into the meat of the evening, I want to turn to our Executive Director, Brian Williams, to give us a brief update on the most recent actions of the Commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank everyone for participating in our virtual meeting this evening. Just want to let you know that at our May 7th meeting, we invited Sheriff Villanueva to come and address the Commission on the recently released plan to close several stations, as well as several critical units whose purpose was to address sexual assaults and sex trafficking crimes. That invitation was extended to the Sheriff on May 5th. We recognize that was short notice to the Sheriff, but he nor anyone from the department were able to attend our meeting on the 7th, and we were informed of the same on May 6th, the day before the meeting. Now, in an effort to answer what we thought were some very critical questions about what was going on with the budget, there had been a lot of static, if you would, in the news media and on the various blogs and websites about what the Sheriff was and wasn't doing. I sent a letter to our Chief Executive Officer of the County of Los Angeles, Sachi Gamai, and posed a series of 19 questions to her about the budget. Those questions ranged from, did everyone have to submit a budget plan where there was a 10 and 15, 20% reduction? What's the impact, the potential closure of these stations, and other units? Were there other ways in which the Sheriff could meet this budget shortfall? was the Sheriff's Department singled out. She gave what I thought were pretty substantive responses to those. Rather than going through all of those tonight, we've placed those on our website, and you can look on our website and see a copy of the letter that we sent to Ms. Hamai, responses to everything. I think that's an Amber Alert everyone's getting.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, so those responses are available on our website and available for you to see. In terms of today's meeting, we again invited the sheriff to send his or himself or his representative to speak with us tonight about the budget. However, I was informed by the department today, and again, we sent that notice yesterday. There is a notice problem, but things are moving quickly here. And we were informed by the sheriff today that in lieu of his participation, sheriff personnel will monitor this call. So they are listening to capture questions and concerns. Sheriff plans to have a virtual town hall meeting for the folks in Altadena, I believe, tomorrow, and those in Marina Del Rey on Friday. So we invite you to take a look at the sheriff's website for more information about those virtual calls. Now, some of you may be aware the sheriff held a press conference today. And although he hasn't, according to the press conference, made any decisions regarding station closures and ensured that the public, that deputies will continue to serve communities, he didn't address the possible curtailment of specialized units. And there does seem to be some conflicting statements as to whether the stations are going to be closed, whether deputies are going to be moved, whether these units are going to be closed. So hopefully we'll be able to glean some additional information from the sheriff and or his spokespersons over the next couple of days. So with that, I just wanted to give you some background information and to remind everyone that our next official COC meeting will be next Thursday, the 21st, from 8 until 11:30 a.m. Hopefully we'll have some answers before then. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. So now we'll start, really get into a little bit more in-depth conversation. I'd like to introduce Billy Malone, who's chair of the Altadena Town Council. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us tonight. And please go ahead. You have the floor.
Hi, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Billy Malone, and I'm the current chair of the Altadena Town Council. I'd like to thank the Citizens Oversight Committee for hosting this virtual town hall where all our voices can be heard. On behalf of the Town Council and our community, I want to state that the Sheriff's Station is vital for the health of our community. In addition to fighting crime, they provide vital resources to our residents, including our young people. They are engaged with creating and forming relationships with our wonderful, diverse community of color. And what happens and how one person or one group in Altadena is treated affects all of us. We see ourselves as one Altadena. We are here today to talk about the current announcement to either close our station or gut its services from the inside, either of which should never happen. First, I want to say here is a realistic look of the actual affected areas of service and public safety that can be drastically affected should a closure take place. First, our 97-year-old historic Altadena station covers Altadena, Pasadena Glen, East Pasadena, and Canaloa Mesa, along with partnerships with Incorporated City of Pasadena, where it joins and to combat gang activities along our shared borders, and also to our Pasadena Unified School District that services Altadena. And then, if you add to that, the CV station is where we're looking at, the sheriff's looking at combining us with. They service La Crescenta, La Cañada, Montrose, Little and Big Tujunga Canyon, etc. If you combine that and you look at those figures, therefore this station closure is not just about Altadena. This this effect of public safety will affect around 100,000 people plus. And if you combine that closure with Marina Del Rey and the numbers that station would affect, we're looking at around 250,000 people. That's 250,000 taxpayers, 250,000 voters whose public safety is in jeopardy due to this move. We know for a fact that it will affect public safety because we've been through this before and have the numbers to prove it, both with the closure and the remodel of the Altadena station back in the 1990s. We know that by closing the Altadena Sheriff Station again, our community will be put back in danger of increased crime, return gang activity, and a loss of relationships between our departments, our young people, and the entire Altadena community. We know this because this happened before. That time when our services also went to the CV station. This is our future, and we just want to be safe. When Sheriff Villanueva was first elected and took his position, he had a round table with the Altadena Town Council members here in town. Two of the things he stated then, first, he stressed the importance of community outreach that he believed was so important. And another point he stated was our problem here in Altadena was black on black crime. The first point, we agree with him. Yes, outreach is so important. We can all be safer and prevent crimes, probably save from budget, and all this from happening if we understand and we have a proactive community outreach, as the sheriff himself had promised. I don't understand why now he looks as if he's going back on his word. We actually agree with him on the importance of outreach. Public safety and outreach is so important. Like having an Altadena school resource officer, which we currently did, a deputy who works closely with the Altadena VITA program. VITA is a program that is essential in reaching at-risk youth and providing them with better options and gives them positive role models. This deputy has developed relationship with young people and works with juvenile-related issues. Don't forget, the schools in our area reach 19 schools, among the highest in the country. On the second point he made, we disagree. Our problem is not black on black crime. It is public safety across the board for all crimes, up to and including white on white crime. But on that note, if you take Sheriff Villanueva for his word, let me state this. We have a neighborhood watch called Cinch that started 40 years ago when people of color in the Altadena Sheriff Station had a bad relationship. Cinch started to build a good relationship and opened up communications between young people of color and the captain and the deputies. People were happy that Cinch was organized. So again, is this sheriff saying through all that hard work and relationship and building over 40 years that we should just throw that out the window? We don't agree with his comment about black on black crime, but maybe he's just trying to prove himself right by eliminating the awesome resources that we have at that station, at our station. I could go on. The list of importance of our station here in our community is long. I also want to make sure we acknowledge that we are not taking a side between the arguments between the Board of Supervisors and himself. We're here to make sure he keeps his promise that he made to us as an elected official to this over 200,000 people that are affected. And that outreach and public safety are the same thing that we need in our Altadena station. We don't just need to stay open, but we need the services to remain intact. Anything less is a kick in the face to all of our communities and would also disprove all of what he himself seems to hold true, that continued outreach is the answer to long-term public safety. We do understand that there may be budget cuts due to this crisis. But again, if Sheriff Villanueva's own words that unincorporated has to take a 10% cut in budget, and if he's true to his words, then we are willing to work with him and the Board of Supervisors on where best to apply that 10% and not ask any community to take the brunt of it all. Well, that's it for now. I'd like to personally thank everyone for coming and listening tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's comments. I'll pass you back to the Citizens Oversight Committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malone. I think everyone appreciates how much you actually do know about the history of the station and the community. So thanks for being with us tonight. Now I'd like to turn to John Heath, who's president of the United Homeowners Association. Mr. Heath, please go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners, Mr. Williams. On behalf of my neighbors here, Windsor Hills and View Park, unincorporated LA County, about 11,000 people, we appreciate the opportunity to spend a few minutes talking with you and sharing ideas. And basically, I can say everything that Billy said, and I don't have to say much, but if you'll bear with me, I want to read a letter that we submitted yesterday to the sheriff and to the Board of Supervisors, and then I'll share a few comments after that. Dear Sheriff Villanueva, as president of United Homeowners Association 2, I write in collaboration with Ladera Heights Civic Association, viewpark.org, and a host of neighbors across the county to inform you that UHA and many thousands of your constituents are vehemently opposed to your proposal to close the Marina and Altadena stations in response to your department's budget shortfall. You allege this shortfall is the result of rising operational costs and years of being underfunded by the Board of Supervisors, and you argue that the closure of these two stations will not adversely affect public safety and that our areas will continue to receive the same coverage levels that we currently enjoy. However, our sources indicate that both response time and patrol unit coverage will be adversely impacted if our patrol units are based at the South LA station instead of the Marina station. Furthermore, your own public statement that was released April 29th acknowledges that, quote, cuts will be made to patrol in unincorporated areas, which means less deputies will be on the streets, close quote. While we share your concerns about potential overreach by the Board of Supervisors with respect to underfunding the Sheriff's Department, and we are very concerned anytime funding for public safety becomes caught up in a political battle, we believe that there are far better ways to achieve the budget reductions you seek without causing tragic public safety consequences in our communities. If you're seeking a 10% overall reduction in costs across all unincorporated patrol areas, why not make those reductions evenly across all stations instead of forcing our communities to disproportionately suffer from these reductions for a mere $16 million in annual savings? Another question our members have is, why aren't you implementing the proposed budget mitigation measures recommended by the county CEO last year? Then I go on to talk about how we're trying to get more information about that, and we reached out to the Civilian Oversight Commission. Look forward to participating in tonight's town hall. Many members of our community are also very concerned about allegations of misconduct leveled against members of the Sheriff's Department, which is why we need oversight. So we appreciate everything this commission is doing. And we trust that we can count on you, Sheriff Villanueva, to set an ethical example of proper conduct by law enforcement as sheriff by making sure that those who break the rules are properly sanctioned. On a personal level, I voted for you, and I remain hopeful that you will continue speaking truth to power and hold all those accountable under your command who don't play by the rules. I enjoyed meeting you last year when you attended the town hall in our community, and I was very encouraged to hear you describe your views regarding community policing and the importance of collaboration between law enforcement and the community. I'm sure you don't want your legacy as sheriff to be that political differences between you and the board prevented you from implementing the many changes within the department that you have stated must be made. So then I close that letter, and let me just say that obviously since we sent that letter, the board has adopted a motion, and the sheriff now appears to be attempting to make some statements that indicate, as Billy said, the stations will stay open. He's going to change or trim staff, supervision, command staff, et cetera, and some programs. That's just not acceptable. Again, I'm still not clear, and I think many of our citizens are unclear as to why these two stations were singled out. These are the only two stations that serve completely unincorporated patrol areas, the Marina and Altadena. All the other stations, as I understand it, at least have one contract city as a client. So if we're really trying to exercise equity here, then all these cuts should be shared across the board, and everyone should be required to tighten up their belt and absorb some of the impact. All these folks in unincorporated areas, there's nearly 1 million of us, I think, if you add up all the math. We all pay taxes just like all the other communities, so it's really discriminatory and unfair to single our communities out for this impact. Transparency, which I know the sheriff has talked a lot about. Please don't tell us that you're keeping stations open while you gut the command and support staff. Not one of our deputies or programs is expendable. I've had a number of people talk about the level of service that we enjoy here in Windsor Hills, Ladera, and View Park, where we make a call if we see something suspicious, or there may be a deputy posted at a walking park. And these are things that we feel won't be happening, at least not as easily, if this station is either gutted or closed. The Sheriff's Department recently approved funding, I think, in excess of $15 million for emergency vehicles. So I'm not sure, but I think the number they're looking to save by making changes at these two stations is somewhere around $16 million. So has someone in the sheriff's office sat down and weighed the efficacy of maybe delaying those emergency vehicles and keeping these stations fully funded and open. I'm an old engineer at the end of the day, so whatever we do from a public standpoint has to be effective. We want it to work. We don't want to be caught up in a political fight between the board and the sheriff. We already have at least one example of a major liability that probably the county and the sheriff is going to have to pay judgments from that stem from a lack of supervision and management at another station. So clearly, if you're going to remove command staff and management from a station that still has deputies there, that's probably not a good idea and not a formula for success. And finally, is it people or is it politics that's most important to this sheriff? His oath, I'm sure, is focused on people and the public safety, but the back and forth between him and the Board of Supervisors is putting public safety at risk, and we really want that to stop. We really want to encourage all parties to come to the table, sit down, and come up with some reasonable alternatives that make sense to get the job done. As Billy said, everybody knows this is an unprecedented time where we're facing historic budget deficits, so we know that that's going to have some impact. But again, it's unfair and it's a disproportionate impact to just force the constituents that are served by the two stations that just have unincorporated territories as their constituents. Finally, let me just wrap this up by saying how much we appreciate the work that the Oversight Commission is doing, the benefit and the value of oversight, especially given the long and sordid history of law enforcement in Los Angeles. We acknowledge and respect the majority of the deputies and officers who do a tough job with honor and play by the rules. They deserve to have a leader who sets the right example by operating with the highest ethics and following through on his campaign promises to reform the department in the right way. Those who break the rules must be held accountable, and the sheriff is the key person to uphold the public trust in that regard. If he is seen directing wrongdoers to destroy evidence or changing personnel rules to unfairly aid his friends and family, then the women and men who wear the uniform and the public all suffer. Again, I voted for Sheriff Villanueva because I personally believe that he would be a fearless and ethical advocate for change and the right kind of change, and would work hard to create healthy, positive relationships with the community. While I still hold that hope, and I'm hoping that the sheriff is listening to this and that he will respond and come to the table and work this out in a different way, in a real way, not in some fake PR way where he's really closing the stations, he's just trimming staff and not calling it what it is. I'm hopeful that we don't have to engage in a different kind of campaign to stop the sheriff from doing harm to our public safety. I should have said this at the beginning, but for more information on what we're doing, we have a petition and some other things that we're working on with other communities. We had a nice conversation with our friends in Altadena and the Marina, but our website is uha1979.org. So those who want to sign the petition or otherwise link up with what we're doing, by all means, you can find us there. And I yield back to you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Heath. Obviously, there are a lot of issues and intersecting issues happening right now during a time when we have this pandemic where nothing's going to stay the same. So thank you all for your due diligence, and both you, Mr. Heath and Mr. Malone, for spending this time with us tonight.
Thank you.
Now, I believe we're going to move right into hearing from the community. So I'd like to ask the staff to begin calling the names and unmuting the people who are so patiently waiting to have their 2 minutes to speak.
Excellent, thank you. And first up, we have Nancy Robb. Nancy, you should be unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, thank you so much. I was born and raised in Altadena. I was born in Altadena Community Hospital, and we've had our family home here for 62 years. During that time in the 90s, when the station was closed, I was unable to take my children to the local parks because the gangs moved in and started taking over several of the parks in our community. Crime rate rose. We were promised that our response times would not be different. They were extremely different. Sometimes you'd have to wait an extremely long time or no one would show up at all. Besides the basic duties, our an average of 2 to 3 rescues every single weekend. The sheriffs rush over to Farnsworth Park. The helicopters land. They clear the fields. They're really an integral part. Also, we had a front country support person. We have a lot of homeless trying to move into our front country that goes from Eaton Canyon all the way over to JPL. And what all we have to do as hikers is send or text the GPS of where we see an encampment, and the officers would go up and gently work with the homeless people to help them relocate so that we don't have fires. They also help supporting our youth, our community. They are just an integral part of our little town.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay. I think we should spread out the cost fairly amongst all of LA County rather than just closing down our sheriff's station and the Marina Del Rey station, because crime will go up. And the administration is the key, not just keeping the doors there so that the police can park their cars and change their outfits. My husband is here with me and he agrees. And we voted for Sheriff Villanueva also, and we just hope that.
Okay, your time is up. Thank you. And next up, we have David Buccolo. David, you're unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting this tonight. I moved to Altadena 3 years ago to be near my grandkids down in Pasadena, and I came from a location in Northern California, I don't want to mention the city, where there was not good relations with the sheriff and the local police departments, and was pleasantly surprised at how good the relations were in Altadena with the community. Surprised enough that I became a volunteer at the sheriff's station here. So I'm now one of the 70 or so volunteers at the Pasadena or at the Altadena station. And we really don't know what's going to happen with the Volunteers on Patrol program here. There is no longer a deputy that will assist us or work with us. There's not going to be a deputy to coordinate mountain rescue with Altadena Mountain Rescue. And as the young lady earlier just said, Altadena Mountain Rescue is an integral part of what happens down here in the foothills. There's Montrose, Altadena, Sierra Madre, but there's no longer a deputy to coordinate that. So one of the upsetting things that I saw was on the sheriff's Twitter page here about a week ago. They actually posted a picture of the station with the old circle with a slash through it, showing that the station was to be closed. It's since been taken down, but that somebody put it up, and I think that was very disingenuous when that was on their official page. I know Mr. Malone talked about, or somebody talked about Mr.
30 seconds remaining.
They talked about spending $15 million. They want to build a new emergency vehicle operations center at Pitchness, while they can still use the one at Pomona at the fairgrounds, especially with the reduced training. So I just don't think the station should be closed. It's a great asset that works with the community and does a lot of outreach. Thank you very much for letting me take the time to speak my mind.
Thank you. And next we have Carol Key. Carol, you should be unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yes, I have lived in Altadena for 30 years, and I thank you for your support. And I realize how important it is because I have been through this before. We need our station. The concerns that I have are certainly response time, the relationship that we've built over the years with the sheriff's station, the Altadena sheriffs, our safety, the programs that have been instituted that have been valuable to the community. We need these things. We need our stations open, and we need the officers to remain and the programs. And I agree with everyone who has spoken and given you that information, so I won't reiterate it. I just want things to remain with the success we've had over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Patricia Mulligan. Patricia, you should be unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Shit, I'm next on that list. I'm next on that list to talk.
Patricia Mulligan, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment. Patricia, we can't seem to hear you. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next person. Oh, Patricia, are you speaking now? Okay, next is Jeff Anson. Jeff, go ahead with your comment.
Basically, I would have to go along. I'm very impressed with the first two speakers and everyone who has had a chance to speak. One thing that people haven't pointed out, with the 3.5 billion proposed budget, Altadena at 6.5 million, and there's issues of whether or not really it's 6.5 million. That is 0.0018% of the entire budget. That is less than 1/1000th of a percent of this budget. And in my letter to the sheriff, I indicated that this was discriminatory, and I think that people speaking today have pointed that out. Why should Altadena and the Marina bear the brunt of reduced policing, especially when the sheriff's department's slogans are community service? And certainly this is an abrupt failure of such. And I really am gratified that the public has really arisen and is making these statements. I really appreciate it. And I was thinking of maybe producing a banner and sticking it on my lawn. Keep the sheriff's station open. Perhaps other people can also do this and really show the community visually that
30 seconds remaining.
To let the community know that this is happening and what they can do. And with that, I want to thank you, and I give the rest of my 10 seconds to the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Deborah Vane. Deborah, please go ahead with your comments.
I would like to relinquish my time. I agree with all of the comments that have been made so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Celinda Pearson, please go ahead with your comments.
Good evening. I have been a resident of Altadena since 1980, and I've seen it go in many different directions. But this direction of closing down the Altadena Sheriff Station is absolutely the wrong path to take, and especially right now. I can't understand why the sheriff has decided to shoot this program in the foot when it is successful. We get along. We do not fear when we see a police car going down the street. We are thankful. We appreciate our sheriff station and support them. And it is vital and an integral part of our community. One of the things that upsets me the most is the lack of due process. We were not informed. There were no community meetings. There was no community input. All of a sudden, it just appeared that we were going to close, and it was done in both a high-handed and an underhanded way. And this has me upset. I think we need a visible presence in our community. When you talk about money spent, all you have to look at how much the station fire cost due to somebody who was homeless and a fire started. If we have a faster response time, maybe this could be avoided in the future.
30 seconds remaining.
I do not want us to be short-sighted and close the Altadena Sheriff's Station. I want us to really have a good overall view of ourselves today and ourselves in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is George Gund. George, please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, thank you very much for having me, and thank you to the committee for holding this town hall. You know, I want to remind everyone, as I'm sure you know, as homeowners, I've lived in Altadena now for 30 years. I've grown up in Altadena. I went to high school nearby. And, you know, as a homeowner, our property taxes were due a month ago. If you were to go to the county assessor's website, he was urging homeowners to continue to pay their property tax on time because of the vital services that those funds provide. Well, the funds that I'm providing don't seem to be being used. I mean, I understand we're in the midst of this pandemic, but many county services, including the county assessor's office, are closed currently. So this is the last thing that I expected to encounter, is hearing that my local sheriff's station was going to be closed in the middle of a pandemic with 60 days notice. And, you know, as everyone else has said much more astutely than I have, this is an effective station that really does serve the community. And it's really a shame the way that it's been brought to our attention that it's going to be closed, in addition to the small amount of the overall budget that it takes up. And so with that, I'll give the rest of my time to the next speaker. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Next is Carol Kaler. Carol, please go ahead with your comments.
Not too sure I would,
We hear
everyone
you.
is pretty much. Hello?
We hear you, Carol.
Thing I would say would be a repeat of what I've heard. And I'm just really sincerely disappointed that Sheriff Villanueva has not given time to the commission and has been present and thoughtful in his responses. So I'll turn over the time to someone else.
Thank you. Next is Jonathan Hayner. Jonathan, please go ahead with your comments.
Thank you very much. I've been an Altadena resident for 42 years. I am a volunteer at the station. I'm involved in Neighborhood Watch. I'm involved in the Community Emergency Response Team, the Map Your Neighborhood Committee, and Alert, which is the radio ham organization for Altadena. I'm concerned about disaster preparedness and what a negative impact this will have. Under our present plans, we would have Alert gather communications from all the parts of Altadena that have neighborhood watch captains, have hosted Map Your Neighborhood meetings, or are CERT volunteers. That is approximately 1 in 8 households throughout Altadena. That we have procedure in place where that information would be collected at Farnsworth Park, which is the northern central part of Altadena, from all parts of Altadena, and then would be delivered to the sheriff's station for delivery to the county's OEM, the Emergency Operations Center. All of that has gone away. All special assignment duties in the county, deputies in the county have already been reassigned. There is no one to deal with CERT, no one to deal with neighborhood watch, no one to deal with volunteers on patrol.
30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. For Mountain Rescue, which did 200 rescues in the last year, by the way, by volunteers, not paid for by anyone. And if there's no one to coordinate with them, congratulations, county, you just absorbed 200 rescues a year. I agree with other comments about the cost savings, which are spurious, and the way this was introduced, which was maddening. And I think the high-handed and underhanded line is the best thing I've heard in a meeting in a long time. Thank you so much for your listening.
Thank you. Next is Alan Rostamian. Please go ahead with your comments.
Hello, my name is Alan, and I am owner of Call Altadena home since 2007. My father-in-law, who has since passed away, purchased his home in 2004. Looking back at those days since 2007, I have noticed how prosperous and safe Altadena is today. One of the main factors Altadena has blossomed into such a success story is because of council members like Akorio Izimi, who helped organize several neighborhood watch programs in his community in conjunction with our local sheriff station, elected leaders, the community, and law enforcement, working hand in hand to accomplish a common goal, which is to make Altadena a safe and inviting environment. Property values have gone up 2.5 times since 2004. More families are choosing to invest in Altadena by becoming homeowners or land. Our local sheriff station is an irreplaceable and vital asset, not just to the residents of Altadena, but also for our guests from neighboring communities who drive to Altadena to enjoy our many outdoor activities. By shutting down the station, I fear the people will no longer feel safe as they were. I also worry Altadena will lose all the great progress and achievement they have accomplished. I wholeheartedly support the sheriff, and I ask our elected leaders who allocate the budget by our taxpayer dollar will reconsider this monetary deadlock and give the sheriff the resources he needs to keep our station open and focus on hiring more deputies and keeping residents who he represents as an elected leader safe.
30 seconds remaining.
These are the brave men and women we call when we need help with an intruder or, God forbid, when our child goes missing. With the help of all of our residents, we can keep the sheriff's station open and focus on making Altadena even more prosperous. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Next is Bernice Brunswick. Bernice, please go ahead. Bernice Brunswick, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment. Moving on to the next speaker. Wen Fang, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, yeah, I'm just so confused about, why the closure and the saving of supposedly $6.5 million by closing the Altadena Sheriff Station. Are they planning to lay off all the sheriffs at the station? If not, then where's the $6.5 million? Are the civilian employees and other rent, all the other excess, is that $6.5 million worth? Nobody's explaining any of this. I'm part of the neighborhood watch, and it is through the sheriffs that we coordinate everything, and we appreciate what the sheriffs, notify us about different things, the crimes in the neighborhood. And like the previous speaker said, that we have been experiencing a very a lengthy time of safe and secure neighborhood. By getting rid of the Altadena Sheriff Station would devastate us. And there is still part of Altadena that has the gang-related violence that has been kept under control by the sheriff. So the closing of the sheriff station would not help this community or the sheriff's department at large. So I don't understand.
30 seconds remaining.
And I appreciate what everybody else has said and what the committee is doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Harold Bisner. Harold, please go ahead with your comment. Harold Bisner, please go ahead with your comment. Okay, we will move on to the next speaker. Alistair McKenzie, please go ahead with your comment.
Thank you for letting me speak here today. I want to thank Brian Williams for his proactive approach in asking questions of the CEO of the county. And it speaks to my general concern, which is which actually was voiced by the last caller concerning the deputies. I feel like $3.5 billion in budget should be enough to focus our attention on hiring, retaining, keeping officers. I know that the administration of the sheriff's office is one of the highest by percentage in the county, if not the state, perhaps even the country, who knows. I think that we might be better served focusing on retaining and keeping officers so that we can maintain this sense that everybody seems to have as a community, that we are safe, we are prosperous, we're happy. My wife and I moved here less than a year ago and have enjoyed Altadena tremendously. So I just wanted to lend my voice to everybody else opposing the closure of this station and the station in Marina del Rey, because priorities need to be set for public safety. Thank you. I'll yield my time, whatever is left, to the next speaker.
Thank you. Next up is Michael Gill. Please go ahead with your comments, Michael.
My wife and I have lived here almost.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My wife and I have lived here for more than 50 years. Our children and grandchildren frequent the sheriff's office because we like to have them be familiar with the area. I like to respond to their frequency. We had a burglary maybe 15 years ago. They were here within 5 minutes. I attribute that to the fact that we're not more than a mile from the station. So I think frequency of visits and participation makes a big difference. They're a giant part of our community. I think it's very important. I think Altadena does appreciate them and does embrace the station. I think it's very important. The fact that it's a small speck of the budget is important. I think it's politics. I think Mr. Sheriff Villanueva gave us his opening shot. I think the Board of Supervisors are negotiating with him, and I believe that this will pass. I hope it does, because I think it's politics, and they're playing politics with public safety, and we know darn well that they shouldn't put public safety first when it comes to cutting budget items, but that's what they do, when in reality, they can cut lesser items first. So I hope the Board of Supervisors, the CEO, and the sheriff talk bullets and get to the point where they can actually cut where it needs to be cut, and public safety is not where it needs to be cut. Thank you. Everybody else has said it before. Commissioners, I thank you for your patience and your time and your commitment to the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Deborah Francis. Please go ahead, Deborah.
Okay, let me see.
Deborah, please go ahead.
Michael, hello?
Yes, Deborah, please go ahead with your comments.
Okay, yes. Hello, my name is Deborah Francis, and my family has been in Altadena since 1960. We have 2 properties, and I believe that the sheriff is creating a vacuum for crime to go up. There are criminals that realize there's no sheriffs in Altadena, and the traveling from the emergency calls is going to be really interrupted. We're going to have a problem. I'm also on a CERT team. We were certified through the sheriffs and through the Pasadena Fire Department. So we're going to have problems. A few months ago, my husband fell, hit his head, almost died. Thank God that I had the CERT training. The firefighters were here, the sheriffs. Villanueva is starting to cause problems with Altadena and over there in Ladera, because we as people have been supporting everyone, and they're expecting us not to show up. But we are going to show up, and we're not going to stop, because this is our community, and the beautiful Altadena are the beautiful people. So let's stop playing politics, and let's be about the business of the people at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Jennifer Tolbert. Jennifer, please go ahead with your comments.
Thank you for providing this platform this evening. My name is Jennifer Foley Tolbert, and I'm the head of St. Mark's School, located just around the corner from the Altadena Sheriff Station. I know that I speak on behalf of our entire St. Mark's community in expressing our concern and disappointment in the abrupt announcement that the Altadena station will be closed. At a time when the health and safety of our community is paramount, This announcement is not only ill-timed and counter to the stated values, core values of the sheriff, but also will have a negative impact on those who count on the safety and critical services provided by our sheriff's office. St. Mark's has been around for 60 years, and the sheriff's station has been a mainstay and an important community partner to our school. From helping us to review our school safety plans, to responding quickly to any and every situation we have encountered to ensure the safety of our students and our entire school community, the sheriff's office has been essential. In fact, our kindergartners take a walking field trip every year to visit them, and their visit is nothing short of inspirational. Every year they return claiming that when they grow up, they want to be a police officer because they want to make a difference, because they want to help people and keep them safe. They are certainly
30 seconds remaining.
And this is an important message for young people, especially people of color in our community. The current pandemic has helped all of us focus on the things that matter, namely the people in our lives, in our communities. The work of the sheriff's station matters. Our children and the people of Altadena also matter. And so I hope that Sheriff Villanueva will reconsider the closure and proceed with integrity to align his actions with the core values that he claims.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Decision making. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mary Elise Peterson. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, you are there.
Hi, thank you. Just wanted to add to all of my other fellow citizens' comments that the Altadena Sheriff Station is a very important part of Altadena and a very big part of what makes our community safe and livable. I'm really surprised to find myself as an aging punk rocker here advocating for our Sheriff Station. There was a time when that would have been the last thing I would have thought I'd be doing, but they have definitely won my heart over in the years I've lived here. Oh my goodness, already 15 years. 15 years, and they're here when I need them, and they're not there in my business when I don't. And they're absolutely, they work with our community. They know what we are here. La Crescenta is a very long way away. There's no way I would expect any sheriffs in La Crescenta to be as effective in policing and sheriffing our community and understanding who we are in Altadena. Let the La Crescenta sheriffs handle La Crescenta. We need our own sheriff station here, and we absolutely deserve one in terms of all the tax base and all the contributions that Altadena makes. When I look at the property values around here, there's no way we shouldn't deserve a sheriff station, and I'm glad that we're all fighting for this. And I love the math that some of you guys have done to assess what really our contributions are and what we should have. I don't like the feeling that, you know, our town should get something that then would cause somebody else not to have sheriffs. I'd like everyone to have, you know, reasonable allocation, and I get that there's maybe not enough funds to do everything we all want to do, but I'm glad to have the chance to be here tonight to stand on behalf of Altadena Sheriffs, and I'll be there whatever else we need to do to continue letting the county know that we want to keep our station. Thanks.
Thank you. Doreen Sanchez is next. Doreen, please go ahead. Doreen Sanchez, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comments. Okay, we will move on to the next person. Veronica Jones, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, I've been in Altadena, for over 60 years, and I'm a member of Cinch, and I'm on the Altadena Town Council. It's taken 40 years to build a relationship with the sheriff, where people of color are not afraid of the sheriff, that we come to depend on them and not feel threatened by them. There was a time when I was afraid for my husband and my son because of the sheriff. We have worked on that relationship. Each captain meets with Cinch every time we get a new one to continue that relationship. That's something that's going to definitely go away, and we will definitely see repercussions if that relationship is broken, because it's taken many, many years to build. And I really feel that this is political. We've been thrown in the middle of two powerhouses that need to sit down and come to a conclusion and not hurt those here in our community. So thank you for doing this. And
I hope that we keep our sheriff station, because as a person of color, a mother with 2 sons and a husband, I feel I need a strong relationship with the sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Audrey George. Audrey, please go ahead with your comment.
Actually, I don't live in the impacted neighborhood you're discussing tonight. I'm going to cede my comments and save them for your next regular meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to ask, get a point of clarification. We're not just hearing from the community about the closure of the sheriff stations. If there are things that I think that fall out of that purview, we're open to hearing them as well. Is that right, Madam Chair?
Absolutely. We obviously it's very top of mind, but all of the issues regarding the sheriff are relevant to the work of the commission. So please don't censor yourself if you think that you're not welcome to speak on any topic concerning.
While we're asking a question, I want to make sure I heard one of the speakers correctly. Mr. Jonathan Hain said that some deputies at Altadena have already been assigned. If that is correct, that is information that raises all sorts of other issues. So I throw that out if anybody has any information on that, or perhaps the information wasn't accurate or I misheard.
Well, we don't have any information, at least I don't, to determine whether that is the correct, whether that statement was correct or not. I know that, again, the sheriff had a press conference today. He's going to do 2 virtual meetings over the next couple of days, which just sort of belies the point that it would have been nice to have had a representative from the sheriff's department tonight to answer such a question.
Thank you. And the next person queued up for public comment is Flo Jeans. Flo, you're unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for doing the meeting. I agree with what everyone else has already said. The only things I'd like to reiterate is safety should be the #1 concern. And if the sheriff's department needs to save funds, then they need to roll back other programs that don't include the safety issue. And safety needs to be the priority. I've been in Altadena for 39 years. I love the place, couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Our sheriffs have been amazing and we need to keep them. Thank you. And thank you for doing the meeting.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Michelle Zach. Michelle, please go ahead with your comment.
Thanks. I'm speaking as the historian of Altadena. I wrote Altadena between them, so anyhow, but mainly I want to speak on behalf of Altadena Heritage, and I want to back up what everyone has said, and particularly what Veronica Jones said, is that we have a history of things have improved so much in Altadena, race relations, community relations between citizens and the sheriff, and it seems like we want to build on that. And Altadena Heritage has is a group that I'm in the I'm on the board. We've been serving for about 35 years, and we're the largest member-oriented dues-paying organization. We have about 500 members, and all of our members, I'm able to speak, definitely support keeping open the sheriff's office. We'd like to see a transparent budget process in which some kind of, we have to all, pull in our belts. That's understood, but that it should be even and it should be fair. And then the last point I wanted to make is that the west side of Altadena particularly has become more and more prosperous. We've been working with the LA County on and definitely monitoring the development along the Lincoln corridor. And I've been told by, I think, Carrie Washington, who works for the county, that it is one of the most up and coming,
20 seconds remaining.
developing areas. More young people are moving in with families, and we definitely, to keep that up, we need to keep our sheriff's station open. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Joan Kahn. Joan, please go ahead with your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a single woman owning a house in Altadena. I moved here 15 years ago. I love it here. I'm a professor and at 2 local colleges. I pay taxes on my house each year, a large amount of taxes. I moved here because, and I'm 4 blocks from the sheriff's station. I moved here because of the sheriff's station, because I felt more secure with it nearby. With the amount of taxes I pay and the value of my home, I expect such services and I deserve them. And I feel that taking the sheriff's station away actually depreciates my house and takes away one of the main reasons I moved to this area. So I really love the area. I love the sheriff's station, and I am very pro keeping it. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Amber Seeley. Amber, please go ahead with your comments.
Yes, hi. Thanks for taking my comment. I just wanted to add my support to the people that are voicing the need for keeping the sheriff's station. I think if there's anything that this crazy time going on right now has taught us, it's how our first responders are absolutely the most important people that we have in society. And I think that there shouldn't be any closing of any sort of emergency stations. And you know, my children go to school in Altadena, and that's one of the things. There are children at that school that have health problems that they need to call 911, and they need immediate response within minutes, or you know, it could be potentially fatal for those children at the school. So I think the idea of closing any sort of emergency services in Altadena is incredibly short-sighted. And yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm in complete support of all the voices urging you to keep it open. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Victoria Gomez. Victoria, please go ahead.
What? Muted. Hello?
Victoria, we hear you. Go ahead.
Hi. This is Victoria. I just wanted to provide a public comment as you know, I think a lot of the public comments have referenced, you know, a need to protect our youth, and that is really important. And as a youth, as a young brown woman, I do not think that police presence in our communities are making us safer. I think that by keeping the sheriff's station open, you are ignoring the true problems of society. And what that is poverty. It's a lack of healthcare. It's, you know, people not being treated as human beings that, you know, deserve, that might need a little more assistance than other folks. And so I think what COVID-19 has shown us is that people aren't going to riot in the streets. They're not going crazy and looting, and there isn't, you know, mass chaos. It's actually been very calm, and, you know, people are not responding in the way that they are claimed to do in this nightmare situation of crime in our community. It's just, it's false, and we need to consider the roots of police in our society, and those roots are slavery. And by continuing to keep the sheriff's station open, you're continuing the productions and processes of slavery. And Altadena is a white as fuck community. Honestly, it's very affluent, and it is not representative.
30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. It is not representative of a society as a whole. And you know, when we think about what happens when you close a sheriff station, what happens is that communities can have an opportunity to get closer amongst each other and build strong relationships based on trust and mutual respect, where maybe those police presences aren't necessary, because we actually trust one another and speak to our neighbors with compassion. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Doug Cauliflower. Doug, please go ahead with your comments.
Thank you for hosting the event. Currently serve as the Altadena Chamber of Commerce president. I've been a businessman in the community since 1984 and a resident since 1992. Our business community is comprised primarily of small mom and pop operators who already face significant challenges due to e-commerce and now the impact of COVID-19. For them to survive, or better yet, thrive, a safe community with visible law enforcement is essential. We have that now, including a high level of community policing. Losing that would be devastating to Altadena. If our station were to close or the level of service be greatly reduced, we know public safety will be at great risk. The entire area, not just Altadena, would be negatively impacted with increased crime of all types, lower response rates or times, lower property values, and degraded business districts. The sheriff now claims that our station will not be closed, but undergo some administrative consolidation, and that most of the deputies working at the Altadena station will remain. What does this mean? We feel that we are being deliberately misled. We expect some honest dialogue and specifics with respect to proposed cuts. Identifying budget cuts with some and most are not acceptable. We understand the budget challenges the county faces, including the sheriff's department. However, we believe all departments, including our elected officials, must work
20 seconds remaining.
Let's work as a team to achieve vital goals without compromising public safety. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you. And next we have Antoinette Perry. Please go ahead with your comment.
Thank you very much. I'd have a little bit of a different angle here. I'm wondering if there might be a possibility that Sheriff Villanueva is not being completely apprised of all the crime that is in this area. I must say it's so much better than when the Bloods used to have their hub here. And the police have done a wonderful job there. And I feel I am white, so I might not be I might not be correct, but I feel like race relations are better than ever. But I was a victim of crime here on Lake Avenue. I was attacked last year and there was a hand on my throat. I was 2 blocks away from the police station. They came right away and caught the person, but I must say it was not on the weekly crime blotter. And I have talked to 2 other people who've experienced violent crimes here where their crimes were also not on the weekly crime blotter. So I'm a little worried that Sheriff Villanueva is not quite fully apprised of everything that's going on in Altadena. And though I must say it is so much safer than it used to be. And I think it's because of the police station. And it does frighten me a bit to feel that it might not be there anymore. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Next, we have Linda Hess. Linda, please go ahead. Linda, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment. Okay, next we have Harold Bisner. Harold, please go ahead with your comment.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we do, Harold.
I'm a commissioner for the LA County Mosquito and Vector Control appointed by Catherine Barger, and I've been a town council member in Altadena in the past for many years. This is simply not right, what's going on here. I'm also the president of the board of directors for the that's passed, for the Port of Altadena, founded about 30 years ago, yet our station returned to a main station status, and we were successful. And that's been ongoing now for the better part of 20 years. and now that is unraveling. We will re-energize, reorganize, and move forward to see that Sheriff Villanueva will not go through with making this less than what we worked for and the community worked for. There were many volunteers that worked very diligently, donated a lot of money. And Alex Villanueva, he doesn't know what
30
he's going on.
seconds remaining.
Very good, and thank you, and thank you very much.
Next is Phyllis Kremer. Please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, I'm Dr. Phyllis Kramer, and I'm the principal at St. Elizabeth Parish School. So I sit right on the border of Altadena and Pasadena. So having a quick response from law enforcement is something that we need. I think I'm one of the few and only organization that was there before the Sheriff's Department or school was established in 1919, and the church was established in 1918. So if anybody's going to miss their presence, I think we will, because we probably were very instrumental of getting them there in that area. I support everything everyone is saying, but I actually want to highlight that the New York Times in December highlighted what Altadena was. They thought that was a up and coming. They talked about the people and the atmosphere. And if the New York Times thought that was worth doing, I think we should have an opportunity to look back and see where we can cut and still have the presence of the sheriffs, because I'm with the other parents and other school administrators to have that quick response. I don't know if we can actually guarantee it if they're in La Crescenta. I do
30 seconds remaining.
That the Sheriff's Department actually sit and do their paperwork in our church parking lot. So if you can guarantee me that that presence will always be there, I think we will be good. But we need to just make sure whatever happens that we do always have that presence. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dean Cooper. Please go ahead with your comment.
Actually, I stand in agreement with what I've heard. I have more questions in terms of basically what are the issues truly, because I'm not that apprised of those issues. And I pray that the board would really exhaust whatever the concerns are so that the community can continue with the protection from the existing Sheriff's Department, which goes without saying, is vital to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Jeff Sedlick. Jeff, please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, this is Jeff Sedlick, and someone asked a question about reassignment of our deputies, and actually already the community relations deputy has been assigned to patrol. We have no community relations. The search and rescue coordinator has been assigned to patrol. We have no search and rescue coordinator, and the school resource officer has been assigned. They haven't been transferred out of Altadena. They've just been reassigned to work on patrol for budget reasons. And I first want to say that we have an outstanding team here in Altadena, from the captain down to the lieutenants, sergeants, deputies, the volunteers, and the unsworn staff. It is a model station that the Sheriff's Department and the county should use to model other stations. And you've heard that consistently across the board. You haven't heard a complaint about our sheriffs during this meeting. So I think there's been some misunderstandings and some poor communication. The sheriff actually never intended, I believe, to shutter the actual station. As soon as that announcement was made, I sent the sheriff an email, and he called me within a few hours. I wish he would be as responsive to this committee as he was to me, and spent a half hour on the phone with me And at that time, when the announcement was first made, there was no intention to shutter it. It is about attempting to, it has to be consolidated, is the way that he explained it to me. So that has not changed over time here.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay. And so it was never going to be closed. It was just going to be closed to the public. And my question to the committee, I would ask that you help with information being like clear information getting out to the community. The board asked the sheriff to decrease the overtime expenditures, but at the same time, the board voted to limit the sheriff from the quantity of new hires, and the board pressured the sheriff to limit the academy classes to bring in new deputies.
That concludes your time.
Thanks for the time.
Robert Walter, please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, well, I'll jump right in on top of that last one because I also emailed the sheriff and got a couple of emails back. And one of the things it said here is that a consolidation of the Altadena sheriffs has not been decided upon or enacted yet. This is one of many options being explored. It also refers to this trying to meet the $400 million structural deficit. So I feel a couple of things. I feel like somehow this excellent sheriff's station has kind of gotten caught between some sort of an arm wrestle between the sheriff's office and the board. On April 28th, this letter says the board voted to reduce the hiring from 720 deputies to 175 deputies, and on it goes. So I think there's something very important about having this sheriff's station. It's part of the fabric of this community, and everything that has been said before, I heartily second. I just want to say one other thing, and this might be a little controversial, but I'm just going to lay it out there. I looked at the 2010 census statistics for a couple of the communities. Montrose La Crescenta has got about 19,000. That station also serves La Cañada with about another 20,000. So that's almost 40,000. Altadena's got 42,000. Altadena's African
30
American.
seconds remaining.
Thank you. Altadena's African American community is about 24% of the community, according to that census. And the other La Crescenta, Montrose, La Cañada is 0.5, half of 1%. I think those optics really stink. And there'd been I'm proud of this community. I'm proud to be part of it. I've been here for 25 years, and I don't want us to get the short end of the stick.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Catherine Deely. Catherine, please go ahead with your comment.
I'm happy to give my time over to somebody else.
Okay, thank you, Catherine.
Well, maybe I should say that I'm brand new to Altadena, and one of the things that attracted me here was a strong sense of community and a safe environment. And I am response times, but I'm learning a lot from this meeting, and I'm really grateful for it. Some of the clarifications that were given in the last 2 or 3 comments were very helpful in alleviating some of my concerns that were sort of ramped up from, as you said, maybe not as clear information as could have been communicated to the community. So thank you.
Next, we have Kwai Lee. Please go ahead with your comment, Mr. Lee.
Thank you for giving me the time to speak. We live on Lake Avenue, close to the Cobb Estate. In the past 6 months, our vehicle has been vandalized 4 times. Without a great access to public trails has to offer, as residents, we rely on the frequent patrol and prompt response of the sheriff's station when we report illegal activities in the area. Currently, the sheriff's station is just less than a mile away. I am certain that incidents like these are going to increase in frequency and severity once the station is closed. We chose Altadena to start our family 3 years ago, and I want to be a long-term resident like many other speakers before me to build a community with continuity. Please keep the station open. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Ron Carter. Please go ahead with your comment. Ron, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment. Okay, hearing nothing, we will go to the next speaker.
Shut up.
Next, we have Peter Sardinas. Peter, please go ahead with your comment.
Yes.
Peter, you are muted right now. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yes, I've been a resident of Altadena for the last 51 years. And I just want to say that the sheriff needs to look at alternatives other than closing or shutting down the Altadena Sheriff Station. It's been a blessing to the community in keeping the law and order. And they've great community relations. It needs to be fully staffed and maintained as it currently is. And please consider that as an alternative to the political infighting that's going on between the board and the county sheriff. I beseech you to keep the sheriff station open. Thank you very much. I appreciate your concern and you allowing me to comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Veronica Whitfield. Veronica, please go ahead.
Hi, yes. My name, can you hear me good?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Veronica Whitfield Carter, and I'm actually a resident of Altadena for the last 20 years, and I've heard some really good comments, and I do too agree that maybe there's some misinformation, and I really would like to get some clarity. But I want to say first off, we have close to 42,000 residents in Altadena. We are a very diverse community, and to try and say that the La Crescenta, La Cañada area could support us is a big misnomer. Like the gentleman before, he indicated there's less than 5% population of African Americans. One of the beauties of this county and this particular city is the fact that we are a community, we relate to one another, we have enjoyed the presence and the support that we receive from the sheriff station. I think that they are a tantamount artifact that really should be upheld. I also want to say that it is very short-sighted by Sheriff Villanueva and the other elected politicians who decide that they can just arbitrarily gut a cornerstone such as this, and the fact that there is not really good information out there in the community space about what is really happening and some of the reassignments that some people think are happening. We need to get some further clarification, and I'm going to lean on the COC to be able to provide what should be the next step and lead that charge so we can actually, if we need to organize something,
30 seconds remaining.
Organize something and go further with Sheriff Villanueva and try and stop this proposal. I mean, if you look at it just from a level of 42,000 people at a very high level, multiply that by $2,000 for each resident, we've got $90 million. So the $6.5 million pales in comparison. So I really would like to say, COC, what can be done and help us with next steps for making sure that we keep this station open. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Winona Cole McLaughlin. Please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to thank everybody for their comments. I think the last speaker brought up some really important topics. I think clarification is needed. Everything I had prepared to say, I think has already been passionately expressed by other residents in Altadena. But what I will say is that, you know, we bought our home here in 2017, my husband and my two kids, and before buying our home, we researched the neighborhood. We spent time supporting local businesses to familiarize ourselves with the area. Many locals we met spoke highly about Altadena and in general, particularly regarding the safety of our neighborhood. And we were told it was a wonderful place to raise a family. It was safe. And I feel like, you know, after living here, we've realized that a large part of our safety is due to the wonderful work of the Sheriff's Department and what they've provided and the relationship the department and the community have built with each other together. We've had to call on them multiple times and they were always there. We would not have bought a home here if that weren't the case, you know. So I do feel the sheriff's station is a detriment to our community. It will definitely have an effect on our safety if it's gutted, and also
30 seconds remaining.
Okay, thank you. And also our financial investments in our community will be affected.
Thank you. And next we have John Riley. Please go ahead with your comments.
Hello, thank you very much for allowing me to comment. I want to compliment all of the speakers because it's been a virtually unanimous response regarding the closing of our station here in Altadena. I think that it's important to note that Altadena, while its population is 42,000, it's the home of many senior citizen centers, rehabilitation centers, and schools, which have families from all over the city. So the impact is not just on our community, but on the many people that we host every day and whose children's safety depends on that Altadena station. So I also want to say that I'm very disappointed that no representative from the Sheriff's Department leadership chose to even make a statement at the beginning of this teleconference, because that would have given us at least some clarity as to their intentions and their specific plans, as some previous speakers have mentioned. I have to say, this is my first teleconference with the Civilian Oversight Commission, and I'm really impressed with the professionalism and the commitment of all of you. I also think people were talking about coming up with some kind of slogan. I would like to humbly suggest SOS, save our sheriffs. Put it on your lawn and spread the word, because
30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. I don't think many people were aware of this. This decision came so quickly. Its effect is going to happen so quickly in the middle of the summer, in the middle of this pandemic. So I think we need to get out ahead of this and make our voices heard. Save our sheriffs. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Shanika Davis. Please go ahead. Shanika Davis, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your comments. Shanika, please go ahead with your comment. It seems that you may be muting yourself, Shanika. Please go ahead with your comment. Okay, we'll be moving to the next person. And next we have Daniela Castellano. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to voice my concern. I don't understand why they should close the Altadena station and leave La Crescenta open, which has much less crime. Also, I remember the concern when Villanueva was elected, that the operation would be too big. He would not be able to effectively budget the department, and he's proving every one of his critic right. And the final thing, so because I don't want to reiterate it, what everybody else has said, I just want to add it, the 42,000 people are equivalent to many thousands of votes. And we are watching everybody.
And we will not forget is disregard for the rule, the committee, the fact that he doesn't show up, the fact that he disregards us and our feelings. And sheriff come and goes, and we will be there at the next elections and make sure that our concern will be addressed then if they are not addressed now. So thank you for this time, and I hope something will be done, because I think there is I don't want to start to bring in racial profiling. I'm a Caucasian person, but
30 seconds remaining.
I think there is a difference when community like La Cañada and La Crescenta are not affected by budget cuts, but Altadena is. And we will not forget that at the right time. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lillian Maimon. Please go ahead with your comment.
Oh, thank you. I've been living here in Altadena for 34 years, raised 3 kids, now a widow, and always have concern about safety. First, I'd like to say that I agree with John Heath's statement that the 10% cut should be spread across all sheriff stations rather than close or stretch the staff of the Altadena station. To me, that's a very sound and a very reasonable comment. And I think that the sheriff's solution is unrealistic, and it greatly compromises the Altadena station with only one area lieutenant from Monday through Friday that is shared with La Crescenta station. And the patrol deputies, although they suit up in Altadena, they'll have to also answer calls in La Crescenta, which covers a huge area. And it includes, let's see if I'm, the National Forest and Mount Wilson. Also, I read that the sheriffs are greatly overstressed and already work too much overtime. So we're gonna, with his answer or solution, it's going to further stretch these sheriffs out. I receive neighborhood alerts through Ring all the time, and unfortunately, the majority are on the west side of Lake. Most of the incidents are with people that are entering the properties at night. If the citizens call the station, I'm sure they get a better response now. Whereas if the station is compromised, they'll have a worse response. I feel in closure that the La Crescenta station should be the one that goes the changes, not Altadena, because Altadena has higher population and higher crime rates than La Crescenta. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Gerald Feeney. Gerald, please go ahead with your comment. Gerald, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment. Okay, hearing nothing, we will move on to the next speaker. Karen Gibson, please go ahead with your comment.
Thank you very much. My name's Karen Gibson. I'm an Altadena resident and have been for 32 years. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of myself and Neighbors Building a Better Altadena. The relationship between the Altadena community and the Los Angeles Sheriff Department has improved dramatically over the last couple decades. The captain and the deputies are part of our community. We know each other, and that wouldn't be the case if the deputies were being assigned out of Crescenta Valley and there was no captain. We have numerous partnerships between sheriff's leadership, the business, civic and faith entities in town. Trust and mutual support have been established over the years, and now, we have the prospect before us of that being destroyed, and it couldn't happen at a worse time. These cuts are real quality of life issues too. With respect to safety, law enforcement services will be reduced. I don't see any way to argue otherwise. The distance itself makes that a fact. The loss of the detectives and the gang investigation team is what a great loss.
30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. Safety of visitors is at risk with our search and rescue team being gone, and emergency response will not be as effective, especially in earthquake response. As important is our well-being. It's going to be negatively impacted with the end of programs for unhoused people and youth. And one of those programs is a recruiting ground for deputies. I'd also argue that this is not equitable, and we'll be vigilantly watching. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have David Oliver. David, please go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you, Commission. My name is David Oliver, President of the Ladera Heights Civic Association, which along with View Park, Windsor Hills, and Marina Del Rey will be adversely affected by the announced closure of the Marina Del Rey station. I appreciate the opportunity to comment to the Commission this evening. My message, though, is directed to Sheriff Villanueva, who I believe has some people listening in, if not himself. Just over a week ago, when this became public, Monday afternoon, I reached out to our supervisor and to Sheriff Villanueva. I didn't receive a response from our supervisor, but did receive a prompt phone call from Sheriff Villanueva. I so wanted to believe what the sheriff told me. However, as the facts and details have continued to emerge, I've come to realize that not all was as it seemed to be. What I thought was transparency really seems to be smokescreens. In a nutshell, Mr. Villanueva, over the course of the past 10 days, has lost my trust. In fact, he's lost my vote. Mr. Sheriff, I'm certain you are listening tonight. On behalf of the community of Ladera Heights, I urge you to act in good faith, with transparency, and in the interest of public safety, guiding every decision that you make. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Patricia Williams. Please go ahead, Patricia. Patricia, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment. Okay. And next we will move on to Veronica Whitfield. Please go ahead with your comment, Veronica. Veronica, please go ahead with your comment. Okay, we will be moving to the next speaker. Cheryl Baracus, please go ahead with your comment. Cheryl Baracus, you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, I would like to comment on the decrease of resources to special units designated to child abuse, sexual abuse, and human trafficking. I'm not entirely sure why there is going to be a reduction in the services for these departments, because human trafficking is at an all-time high, and that's what the research and experts say, is that human trafficking is really a problem right now, as well as with COVID-19 stay-at-home orders. There's a lot of concern that children who live in toxic and violent households are being forced to stay inside right now, and so conditions of domestic abuse and child vulnerabilities are very high right now. And I would really like us to focus conversation a little bit in this meeting about that, or in future meetings, because it's really important that we support our children And I'm not too sure why, since I've hopped on, the majority of comments have just been from Altadena. It makes me question, and I thought that this was a meeting open to all of LA County. And it makes me question how and where these meetings are being advertised. And perhaps we're not doing a better job of including communities all throughout LA County, not just, Altadena, because that's only who I hear is here is participating in this meeting right now. So I advocate for our children. How we treat our children in this society is very important to how we grow and create a legacy of healthy communities, where there's not
15
mental
seconds
health.
remaining.
Thank you. Where there's not mental health issues, where children, are not led into homelessness and poverty, where we create, systems of support for our children. We talk a lot about public safety and what a sheriff department will do. What about schools and programs to prevent child abuse? Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Ron Carter. Ron, you are unmuted now. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, good evening, and I want to thank the commission for organizing this town hall meeting. And I just would like to say that I'm a bit perplexed by Sheriff Venezuela proposed action. It seems that Sheriff is not speaking the truth. He says that there is black on black crime in Altadena. He says that Altadena needs community policing, but yet he's closing the sheriff's station. Those points of view kind of conflicts. I am not certain if the sheriff is aware that Altadena is the largest area in the 5th district. Altadena is the largest area in the 5th district. And to take away our sheriff's station is really a crime, because we pay the most taxes than anyone in the 5th district for the amount of people and the land mass that we have here. And I hope that the sheriff will reconsider what he's attempting to do, because we have a very quiet, progressive, productive community here in Altadena, but we also have a very active community here in Altadena. We're not going to let this happen without a fight. So the sheriff can just be prepared that I don't know if he's going to have 42,000 people against him, but I guarantee you he's going to have a good 20,000 people lining up against him. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Dot Wong. Dot, please go ahead with your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you just muted yourself, but hold on. Okay, please go ahead, Dot.
Yes, thank you. My name is Dorothy Wong. I'm a resident of Altadena. I'm also on the town council, and I'm really happy to hear all of the comments and also sharing the very serious concerns that our community has. And I just wanted to share a couple of opportunities, moments that happened recently, because we have, during this really stressful time, we have a sheriff's department that knows our community. I would urge everyone and Sheriff Villanueva to not lose the captain from our department, from the sheriff's department. The captain has been the central calming force for much of our community. My census tract is along a lot of the trail access points, Cheney Trail, El Prieto Road, and Rising Hill. And having to get a little special care and support through the captain and the sheriffs coming to patrol has been vital to the mental health and the feeling of security of all of the residents that live along those trailhead communities. I love Altadena as a resident, as one of the most diverse places, as an advocate of the Traffic Safety and Mobility Committee of the Town Council. The last two traffic collisions.
20 seconds remaining.
The last two traffic collisions, the sheriff's departments are the first responders, And it was amazing because they both turned out to be a stolen vehicle, one, and a hit and run. And so those were really things to be addressed through, of course, our sheriffs. So please consider keep the captain. Don't change these things during COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and it looks like we are going to turn this back over to Patty and Brian. Patty Giggins and Brian, if you would like to take over.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer, Jennifer is our director of communications. Thank you so much for fielding all those calls. Did everybody who wanted to speak have a chance to speak?
According to what I'm seeing, yes. I'm having 2 more requests coming through the chat box right now, Patty. I don't know if you want to take them.
Go ahead. Why don't we do that and then we'll come right back.
Okay. It'll take me just a second to queue you up, Renee, Amy. Renee, it looks like you are unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
And can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay. First off, I'd like to thank all of you for being in attendance and making this available to what appears to be the citizenry of Altadena. I attended the first COC meeting last week and was ready to give public comment initially, coming in to sort of tear you all apart for what you were allowing. And as the meeting went on, I gained a rapid and much better realization of your role in all of this. You may think that we here in Altadena are all in league together. I will tell you that is not the case, but we do have a very active social network here. And earlier today, I sent out a message to the 17,000 or so people as I realized one of the key elements in all of this, and you'll probably agree with this, mostly because this goes to a policy aspect of things. And I'll read it as much of it as I can, but Altadena needs continued community policing. Community policing has been found to be an effective tool in creating better results in policing and is the way modern police departments strive to operate. In Altadena, the move to community policing will be quashed if LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva continues with his announced closure of the Altadena station. Yes, that has in recent days been rephrased. Really, Mr. Villanueva, an elected official, plans to completely eliminate all community policing in Altadena. The station doors will likely remain open, but there will be no outward-facing proactive programs in place. Only reactive patrols, and in the vernacular parlance of the good old days, cops busting heads. Mr. Villanueva's ever-waffling plan will, at its core, cut all ties with the community, with our youth, with our businesses, and with the community at large. It's politics at its very worst, as there's a continuing spat between Mr. Villanueva and the LA County Board of Supervisors, leading to this planned closure effective July 1st. And I'll wrap it up, and again, with my thanks to you all.
Thank you. And next, Laura Montrose, we are just looking to unmute you right now. Laura, please go ahead with your comment.
Okay. April 20th was my 30-year anniversary of living in Northwest Altadena, Census Tract 4603.01. Actually, what I'm going to read is a letter that I had written at the request of one of my town council reps that we wanted to circulate and sign and send to Sheriff Villanueva. So this is it. Dear Sheriff Villanueva, there are places where a sheriff's station is more than a law enforcement facility, where it has become one of the centers of community life and involvement. Altadena is one of those places. The captain and deputies of ALD and the citizens of Altadena have formed a partnership that has resulted in a high level of trust between the station and the community. As one of Los Angeles County's most diverse communities, both ethnically and economically, Altadena requires a particular type of policing, one that respects the community and seeks to engage with it on a personal level. ALD does that. There are at least 9 programs in which citizen volunteers work hand in hand with ALD to contribute to the well-being of the community. Sheriff's Support Group of Altadena, raising funds for material and other needs and co-sponsoring summer concert series with the station. Altadena Mountain Rescue Team, ensuring people, dogs, and sometimes horses receive proper care and make it safely down from the mountains. Altadena Mounted Posse, keeping an eye out on the riding trails. Altadena Clergy Council, bringing a deeper understanding of the community to the deputies. Volunteers on patrol, checking on homes whose occupants are out of town or need a little extra lookout when requested. Office volunteers answering phones and being a welcoming
15
presence at the
seconds
station.
remaining.
CERT, training community members in first aid and disaster response. Explorers, providing opportunities for growth and service to young people in Altadena. DETA, developing life skills and positive outlets at risk. Time's up.
Yes, thank you. And next we have Meredith Miller. Meredith, please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I know I was a little late. I'm going to come to you as a business owner. I have owned Webster's Community Pharmacy on Lake for the past 10 years, and most of you know this pharmacy, and it's been here since 1926, and I've heard many of my customers already talking today. You know, we have been burglarized 3 times in the last 2.5 years. We don't really publicize it, but we've been broken into, and each time, you know, we've had a lot of drugs stolen from Webster's Pharmacy. We don't really see this getting any better because we are living in a culture of opioid addiction. But I will say that having the sheriff less than 3 minutes away when the alarm goes off, and having the ability to have them come straight in there and take care of whatever happens in a very quick way is so necessary right now. When my husband and I heard this news, you know, we were really horrified to think that perhaps we had to wait now for somebody to show up 15-20 minutes in a business environment is just unacceptable. I don't even know how to talk about this. So I really just want to bring up the point, as business owners, we really, really need the hands-on protection that this sheriff station provides to us, and the fact that you know, we're
30 seconds remaining.
You know, it just seems so counterintuitive in the culture we're living in right now to completely, you know, just strip away the safety net that we all need in Altadena so desperately right now. So I just wanted to be a business owner. You know, we've called them countless times over the 10 years for transients, vagrants, you know, you name it. We have a great relationship with this sheriff's station, and I would really hate to see anything change. So thanks for letting me.
Thank you. And next we have Jennifer Lee. Jennifer, please go ahead with your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Hi, thank you so much. I wanted to talk about the people that are back on patrol now that are not doing the school partnerships that they were doing. I am a public school advocate. I'm also an Altadena Town Council person. And I know that the school resource officer, a deputy who is now back on patrol, is no longer doing the school partnership work, which really helps youth at risk. We have 19 schools in this area, among the highest in the county. I also wanted to mention that the Explorer program, which enables young people to build relationships with law enforcement and do community work, the graduates will be graduating in June. We do not know where this program is going to go in the future because the deputy that handles that program is now back on patrol. So those are 2 really important issues for me. The other is I've been hearing that possibly the station won't be really closed, that there will be deputies in there, but it will be closed to the public. I'm really curious as to how that's going to work, since the deputies serve the public and the public the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next we have Susan.
Jennifer, how many more speakers do we have? I thought you said there were no more, and then
That's correct. And then after you made the announcement, we had a couple of people message us. So right now we have 2 remaining.
Okay, and then we'll stop after that. Okay.
Okay. Okay, great. We'll do. Susan Manu, you're unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Thank you. Thanks for squeezing me in. I was also in line at the last meeting last week, so I appreciate your time. I'm a resident of Altadena. I've lived here for 17 years, and I agree with most every speaker tonight. Clearly, we're all on the same page. I also agree that we need more direct information from the sheriff, and I very much disagree with closure or any reduction in the sheriff's services. Altadena is safe, it's friendly, but it's also extremely vulnerable, as you've heard from many. And I live immediately adjacent to the National Forest. So the area where I live, of course, is of particular concern to me and my family and my neighbors. We have a big influx of visitors on our trails. We have weekend hikers, and we also have people who drive to the edge of Altadena to hang out in their cars at night at the forest edge. Sometimes they vandalize, sometimes dump garbage or fire their guns. Sometimes I do my own citizens patrolling and deter people, but there are times when the sheriff is clearly needed and needed immediately. And the idea that our sheriff's station would be closed or that there would be staff reductions is seriously alarming. We need sheriffs present all the time, well-staffed right here, as it has been, and we want this to continue. And the closure is an invitation to increase nuisances and illegal activity.
30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. Additionally, with the recession and due to COVID-19, there's going to be increased unemployment, increased loitering in our community, and it's a given that there's going to be an increased potential for crime. So this is not the time for any such change. We can't afford to have our hillside community in danger and unmonitored. With July just around the corner, we need the sheriffs here, and we don't need this change. So we appreciate your help in getting us to the right result. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last comment will come from Joan Riback. Joan, you are muted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Thank you very much. And I know that you're tired of listening to all of us, but these comments are for the Sheriff's Department. I hope that he's listening, and I hope that he understands now who the Altadena community is. And I would like to speak for all of the things that he's closing, because he's closing so many important services to our community. But in Altadena, we are a very active, caring, and solid community. And you know what we need as a sheriff's department, but we know what we need also from our sheriff. We need him to be ethical. We need him to be moral. And we need him to be mature. We need him to work with the budget in a mature way. There's $23 million that goes to upgrading technology and radios, so keeping our office open is a fraction of just that one budget item that he's not cutting. So clearly there's a lot of room in the budget where things can be done. And we as a community are going to make sure that our community gets what we need. We'll work with you, Sheriff Venuela. We will work with you, and we will support you if you care about our community. But if you show that you are not caring about our community, we will certainly do all that we can to find a sheriff who is mature, who is caring, and who will work with us. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments, Patty.
Okay, thank you so much, Jennifer, for fielding all those calls so well and smoothly. We're gonna stop, but we have maybe a couple of minutes. I just want to open it up to any of the commissioners who might want to make a comment. I know you've all been listening very diligently all evening. Commissioner Rubin?
I muted somebody else. Unmuted somebody else. I wanted to thank everybody who made the comments that they did. I thought they were very heartfelt, and there was a lot of information. I was glad to see the few speakers from Windsor Hills, View Park, Ladera Heights, because that is a community that ought not to be forgotten. But one of the things that I got from all of this is a real lack of understanding as to where the sheriff, what he's going to do one day and then changes his mind, or tells a group of people he's really not going to close it and then publicly says he is. And again, it's unfortunate that he wasn't here tonight or some representative wasn't here tonight. But I hope in the coming days that he takes to heart the really don't help the discussion. And I would urge the sheriff to be straightforward, what his issues are, and involve the community in helping to make those decisions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ocean?
I echo everything that Commissioner Rubin just said. Very grateful to everyone who took time, 2 hours, and then some, especially for the folks who didn't get an opportunity to comment at our May 7th meeting. We appreciate your patience. And for the person who asked about, opening this up to more communities, we hope that that will occur in the future. This is a new format for us. Typically, when we do town halls, and at least in the past, we typically do go into a community and we want to hear the specific concerns of that particular community that we're in. Obviously, others are welcome to attend, but this is a different kind of format. And so as we're doing these town halls going forward, we certainly hope that, people from across the county will join us and chime in and tell us about their concerns. I agree that it's really disappointing that the sheriff has chosen to essentially sideline the commission in this process, which hampers communication and clarity and causes confusion and anger among not only members of the commission, but also members of the public who this directly impacts. So if the sheriff's department, if any members of the sheriff's department is listening, we're like the public, we're making public appeals. We hope that they will be more collaborative and transparent in the future, because this is our role. Our role is to elevate the concerns of the community and to come up with solutions. And we can't do that if the sheriff refuses to participate. And the last comment that I'll make speaks to a point that was raised earlier by, I think it was might have been Mr. Heath, or it might have been Billy, one of the first two commenters, who talked about Sheriff Villanueva identifying Black on Black crime as a major issue in Altadena. And if that was said at a meeting, I think that's really disturbing. And I hope that that has nothing to do with the sheriff's response to what's going on in Altadena right now. In fact, the whole notion of Black on Black crime is ridiculous. Most crime when it's committed is intraracial in the first place. And so if that's the way the sheriff is seeing issues related to crime in LA County, again, I hope he'll revisit that view.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other commentary?
This is Commissioner Tolentino. I appreciate everyone taking the time to comment, and I was actually very concerned about the way the communications have been coming along, and I appreciate the fact that the commission allowed the town hall to go through so quickly after our last meeting. I also share the same concerns as Commissioner Olson and Commissioner Rubin. Just the lack of communication to the communities, which I think was at least to me, the most important part of the comments today, is that they just aren't getting the information, and they're not getting it from the sheriff, who's the one that is going to essentially the decider in chief, apparently, in a lot of these changes. Let's hope that he'll also take the comments of the community and the comments from the public and from this commission in making his decisions and changes in the sheriff's department. Thank you.
Yeah, I too thank you all, you three commissioners who are with us tonight for everything that you've said. I don't want to be redundant. I agree with everything you've said. It really is unfortunate that we are providing oversight and facilitating community engagement without the engagement from the Sheriff's Department. We can still hold out some hope that that will change, but I guess the message to the community and to the Sheriff's Department and to everyone is that we're not going anywhere. We're here. We're going to do our job. We're going to figure out how to do it one way or the other. And I want to thank everyone who hung out for 2 hours to speak, and you all did it so very, very, what could I say, enthusiastically, very succinctly, and at the same time, you kept to the 2 minutes, which I so appreciate. And we will have more virtual town halls. We love our town halls, in person and virtual, because it's a different format than when we are in our official COC meeting. And so we look forward to hearing more from the community. Our next meeting, our official meeting, is May 21st, Thursday, starting early, 8 o'clock, and we've extended to 11:30 a.m. And COVID-19 and the Sheriff's Department will be one of the main agenda items, and I'm sure issues of closing of stations will be, also discussed. So I don't know if Mr. Williams wanted to make any last comment before we.
No, I just wanted to thank the commission. I wanted to thank our staff who's here tonight, organizing the call, but most of all, I want to thank the members of the community who stood by and answered the questions and raised a number of questions. We know the Sheriff's Department is listening tonight, and I certainly hope that if you attend the Sheriff's virtual meeting on Thursday and Friday, you all have a chance to ask questions directly to the Sheriff's Department. I'm not sure if they're going to use this format or not. Certainly hope that they do, but you won't be forgotten, and we hope that you continue to participate. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to thank Mr. Huntsman for being such a good listener tonight. And we'll say goodnight to everyone and see you all very soon. Stay safe, everybody.
Yep. Good night.
Good night.
Hey.
Bye.